It is 7 o'clock. I'm calling this meeting to order. Please stand and join me if you're able in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Thank you. Official meeting notification, Mr. Stousland.
Yeah, public notice of all meetings has been given by communication from the superintendent's office to the public, to those news media who have requested such notices, and to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Northwest Now, Express News, and West Bend Daily News. Public notice has also been posted in schools throughout the district on the gsw.org website, as well as cable access channel 96.
Roll call, Mr. Marney.
Yeah, Medved.
Here.
Loth.
Here.
I'm here. Pollock.
Here.
Soderberg.
Here.
And board members Borden and Reineman are absent excused.
Number 2, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Before we move on to citizen comments, I'd like to make a couple of introductions. As you can see, the board has changed a little bit. I was not able to stay for the entire meeting last time. I was traveling on vacation. Got to have a good time with my boys. Enjoyed a nice, relaxing time. I was elected to board president at the last meeting, and this is my first full meeting. I'd like to go through a little introduction of myself and what my thoughts and philosophies are as a board president moving forward. I was elected in 2013 and have been re-elected twice to the Germantown School Board. I moved to Germantown area in 1993 before my kids were born because I heard that Germantown had a good school district. My 3 sons went through the Germantown School District from K through 12 and graduated, and I'm happy to say they're on their own as adults, leading successful lives. I've had the opportunity to be involved in many activities in the community because of my sons. Joining the school board seemed like a good way to give back. I never got on the board to become president, but here I am. I believe in transparency and that school boards are the ultimate in grassroots democracy. Everyone should have a voice in public comments, and emails are welcome. But we must be respectful and be willing to compromise, especially in these difficult times. We will be limiting comments to topics on the agenda and limiting speakers' time to 3 minutes tonight, and we will not go over 1 hour time. We also need to be respectful of everyone's time, and I don't believe in having 4 or 5 hour board meetings, and I don't believe that that is necessary. My goals as a board president will remain the same as they were when I was a board member. First and foremost, I will always do what is in the best interest of our students first, and I will also consider what is in the best interest of all stakeholders in the community. We will live within our means and have a balanced budget. We will continue to record all meetings and be open and transparent in all decisions that we make. I will commit to include and engage all stakeholders in more of the big decisions going forward. My goal will be to eliminate surprises and build consensus. Whenever possible, items being brought to the board first as an information-only item and can only be voted on at the following board meeting. That gives us time for fact-finding and more public comment. We will continue to be informed on the topics we discuss. I will continue to focus on curriculum, keeping high standards, with quality teachers and staff, offering rigorous classes, and keep our students engaged and learning at a high level. We will continue looking for more hands-on, more interdisciplinary, student-led learning opportunities to develop student passions and love of learning. We will develop the whole child to be problem solvers, collaborators, great communicators, adapted to an ever-changing environment. We want our students to be good citizens with good moral character and treat everyone the way that they want to be treated. I believe they call that the golden rule. We want our students to know how to think and learn and not what to think. We want our students to be self-reliant seekers of knowledge with a growth mindset. If you haven't heard any of this before, know that this is what we've been working on for the past several years. I've been a part of the curriculum committee for all that time, and these are the activities that we've been actively engaged in. We want our students to be successful wherever their passions take them. I will be working on board goals that have real metrics that far exceed standardized test scores. And we'll have more to talk about tonight. We have an update from Brenda talking about our 3 to 5 year plan for curriculum in the district, and I think everyone will be impressed with what is going on and the work that is being done. So thank you all for coming. Again, we will have a clock. We will allow speakers for 3 minutes, and Brett will let you know when your 3 minutes are up. Please finish up your comments and let as many people speak tonight as possible. We will end at 1 hour. So at 8:06, we will end public comment. First, we have Marie Graziano. Graziano. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to give a little question and answer type scenario. I'm Marie Graziano from Richfield. I'm talking about item number 7 that's on your agenda. CRT should be banned from existing in the education of our children. CRT is a taxpayer-funded anti-white racism program, which is exactly that, racism. What you are trying to do in the schools is discrimination. The teachers, administration, and others are teaching our kids to hate. This cannot be accepted. The school board is elected by the community, and the community is now speaking out. So knock it off. The following states have banned CRT: North Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Legislators in Iowa, Idaho, Louisiana, Missouri, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, and West Virginia have drafted bills that would ban CRT, which is a racist and sexist teaching. Lawmakers are debating and going to be voting on legislation aimed at CRT in Texas, Georgia, Arkansas, South Dakota, and Arizona. It's time for Germantown and the state of Wisconsin to ban this hate information. Another issue, equity is the opposite of equality. Equity is communism, meaning that we all have the same outcome. In other words, you're not going to own your house. The government will. And they'll give you food when you need it, and they'll make sure you supply you everything, which is halfway where we're there now. Again, thank you, and have a great evening.
Diane Peterson.
Good evening, Diane Peterson from Richfield. I'm going to speak on item number 7 as well on your agenda. Words make a difference, such as school board, standing committee, ad hoc committee, advisory council, and executive orders. While searching your website for meeting and minutes, I found the first curriculum meeting that was posted as of April 21st of this year. How and when were items regarding curriculum addressed prior to that ad hoc committee meeting? Curriculum probably is one of the main measurements in a school. Ad hoc committees are not standing committees and normally have a stated goal, and when the goal is complete, the committee is disbanded. Can someone tell us what the stated goal of the ad hoc committee is? Now, this temporary ad hoc committee has a subcommittee named Advisory Council on Equity, or the nice name of ACE. Yes, a subcommittee of the temporary ad hoc committee, and now that ACE has 4 committees, as we just heard reported earlier. Interestingly, 2 months before, on April 19th, Governor Evers said, we have to make sure we're making equity and inclusion, we also heard inclusion before, the most important issue in state government. Evers said that at the Council on Equity. Bill Umsky from MacIver Institute said diversity and inclusion might sound good at first, but to liberals, those are words, only tools. First demonizing, and then fundamentally transforming America and our way of life. They give a hint at their ultimate goal when bringing up equity. Yes, again, the word goal. He continues, Evers didn't come up with that idea on his own. It is the same diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda liberals everywhere are pushing. Some people call it being woke. Equity is not to be confused with equality, which means ensuring everyone has the same opportunity. Equity is the opposite, like you just heard. Americans have long enshrined the idea of equality, believing all people are created equal with unalienable rights. Equity means everyone has the same outcome. An idea rooted in communism, which is currently manifesting itself in America as critical race theory. Lastly, my research uncovered that Governor Evers signed an Executive Order number 99 relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion in state government on November 12, 2019. Never heard of that Order 99? No wonder. It occurred when he also signed the Order number 90 relating to public health emergency for COVID. You all know about that. So words do matter, and all these similar words just seem fishy to me. Thank you so much.
Jean, Mary? Welcome.
Thank you. In regard to equity and CRT, my husband and I have 7 grandchildren. 2 are Caucasian American, 3 are Hispanic, and 2 are Eastern European, from grade school age to college. Their friends, classmates, playmates, etc. are multicultural. Until recently, they have known each other as cousins. Now they are being told that they are oppressors and victims. Tell me how that's supposed to work at a family gathering. In today's world, my family is not the exception. We have queried the 5 older ones. Here's what they don't know. Of course, they know Nazi is a bad 4-letter word, but they have no real understanding of what a Nazi was, or about concentration camps, the Holocaust, or anything else about World War II. They are given the impression that we went straight from white supremacist founding fathers straight to today without anything changes happening with slavery, and thus the term systemic racism. They are not taught that black slaves are the direct result of tribal warfare in Africa, where one black tribe sold a conquered black tribe into slavery. Nor are they taught that some wealthy black men in America also owned black slaves. They are not being taught that the 3/5 rule was enacted as a hindrance to slavery. It was not that the founding fathers considered a black person 3/5 of a human being. You need to look that up if you don't understand that one. By the way, free blacks were counted as citizens. They know nothing about the Underground Railroad, 40 acres and a mule, the 14th and 15th Amendments. They don't know that black men got the right to vote before women of any color, including white. They know nothing about the discrimination against Irish, Italian, Polish, and other immigrants to this country, nor about U.S. citizens of Japanese descent who were put in prison camps in this country in World War II. They have never heard of affirmative action or that socialism is based on political and economic inequality. My family is more the norm than the exception in this country today. Color, race, creed, nationality have all blended over the years. Why do we want to upend that with a new version of racism? Yes, there are still people with racist mindsets, but to what extent is that the direct result of what is no longer being taught in our schools? Thank you.
Alex Harden.
Hey, Brian, could you ask everyone to restate their name when they get up here?
Good evening, Alex Harden from Colgate. So on the CRT topic, so as it's been stated numerous times this evening, conservative states and communities and school boards around the country have already pulled this nonsensical racist drivel out of their schools. Yet here we are in Germantown, the so-called most conservative community in the state, and we're talking about ridiculous things like equity officers and equity and inclusion programs. Somebody got up earlier in the previous meeting and talked about how an equity page is being created on the website to divide students into groups and indicate that on the website. I believe when I spoke at this meeting a month ago, I was laughed at for indicating that the intent of critical race theory was to divide groups of people based on race and pit them against each other. It seems like I may have been more right than you thought. Brian, earlier this evening, you mentioned that we have policies that prevent CRT from being misused. Yet at the last meeting 2 weeks ago, we spent an hour talking about how Brenda O'Brien is actively trying to get teachers to implement critical race theory and equity-based philosophy into the classroom. It seems that policy isn't working. Tracy, you mentioned earlier this evening that you're not sure where CRT is being used outside of those AP classes, which is funny because you were actually at the meeting 2 weeks ago, and while I was standing here explaining what happened to what Brenda O'Brien did, you were staring at me like that, like I had lobsters crawling out of my ears, rather than taking action and listening and doing something about this. So, I don't know, honestly, it's flummoxing that we're still having this discussion in Germantown. It looks like I have some time yet. On the mask issue, you know, schools around the country and around the state are pulling masks out of their schools. And what's happening? There must be breakouts across the country. Kids must be dropping over dead like flies because they're all getting COVID and having fatal reactions to it. That's what's happening, right? No, that's exactly the opposite of what's happening. Study after study show that masks are no longer needed, if there ever even were, and they certainly aren't needed any longer for kids. Brian, you mentioned earlier when you were introducing yourself that you're going to prioritize the students. I think that's great. That's exactly what the school board should be doing. Yet given that the data indicate that masks should no longer be needed, there's only, as a matter of logic, there's only one reason that our kids are being forced to wear masks. There's only one. And that's that this board is prioritizing the whining and complaining and grumbling and threats of teachers and your administration. You're prioritizing all of that over our kids. And that's why they're being forced to wear masks 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And that's ridiculous. So I hope that the board will never forget, or I hope you don't think that we the parents will ever forget that time that the board decided to use our kids as bargaining chips against the teachers. Because we won't forget, and we can't wait until election time. Thank you.
Amy Bremer.
Hi, I'm Amy Bramer, Kennedy teacher. I'm the GEA president-elect, and I'm speaking on behalf of the GEA exec board, mostly relevance to item number 6 tonight. I actually want to start out tonight with some thanks because it has been a crazy year. And I want to thank the support staff of our buildings, the custodial staff, the front office staff, our fellow teachers, administrators, who all worked collaboratively this year when it was really difficult. And then I also need to thank the school board because you guys have made really tough decisions this year with differing opinions from all directions, and that's really tough. I want to touch on a couple proposals for tonight. One of them is reducing the cash in lieu of insurance, reducing it and then cutting it for married couples. We wonder about the savings for the district, if that much savings compares to the financial strain on some of the families who will lose $400 this year with plans for more cuts for future years, and all the way to $4,500 for married couples. So even with the annual cost of living increases, some staff will earn less money in future years than this school year. GAA did some quick research. We didn't have a lot of time after last week's meeting, but we have found that some area districts do still offer cash in lieu, and we found different data than what was presented last week at the personnel committee meeting. So we'd like to share some of that with you if we could be given a chance. And we just want to ask, what message are you sending about how much you value retaining the dedicated staff that have put in years of service to the district? Loyal, quality staff are what makes school districts great. And then we wanted to comment too about the second proposal tonight about the second shift custodial staff and replacing them with a cleaning service contracted. And you asked a lot of the questions already tonight, so I actually got to scribble out a bunch of what I was going to say. But one of the comments was that, first shift is seen in the building, so is second shift. We have custodial staff helping kids to their lockers when they forget something. A kid gets left behind, a parent is running late, we've got custodians helping them out. They're at our sporting events, at our club events, and they take pride with a job well done. And we really, really want to make sure in discussions tonight that we make sure that an outside company would be as proud of our district. And so during your discussions tonight of each of those topics, we hope you consider the long-term implications before taking a vote. We feel the money spent that reduced the fund balance in the last years is kind of being taken out on us right now, and we'd like you to really think about your employees. Thank you.
Teresa Snyder.
While we understand that CRT is not being taught in every classroom, we are extremely concerned that it is being pushed onto our district staff, which would be woven into everyday practices to become commonplace in our schools. People don't notice things when they are added little by little, and pretty soon it's commonplace curriculum. From my research, Ms. O'Brien, her direct supervisor would be the superintendent. So the emails and reading lists that put her in the hot seat the last few meetings were one of two things. One, either our superintendent agrees with her choice of reading materials and curriculum for the staff, and she did this with his guidance and or blessing, or she did this without permission and decided these things with no input, which as a parent seems a little out of her jurisdiction. She is not an elected official. She directly reports to the superintendent, who reports to the publicly elected school board. The buck stops there, okay? So sadly, secondly, please take this as a very real warning. The board has shown us repeatedly that money talks. Well, it's about to start talking really loudly. While we respect and love all of our teachers and staff, when Nurse Tammy said that she had a group of them ready to walk if we went mask optional for the rest of this year, with all due respect, let them. Call their bluff. Hold on. Please do not let a few teachers overshadow the vast majority of the vaccinated teachers in this district that are afraid to speak out on the side of the parents for fear of retaliation. And that is a very real fear and valid from what we are hearing. The highly organized, passionate, and motivated group of parents, taxpayers, and voting adults that you have heard from in the last few meetings have their checkbooks open, pens in hand, and enrollment forms already filled out for amazing private schools in our district. Okay? They share the beliefs that parents have the right to make decisions for their kids, not a school board. And this is not just about masks, and everybody here knows that. Okay? The revenue and tax dollars about to be siphoned out of this already high deficit school district is going to be a real vacuum noise in the school bank accounts. In other words, the board is writing checks that the district can't cash. In conclusion, please make the right decision on masks tonight and let our seniors walk that stage with smiles on their faces that we can see. Okay? Don't let their final memories of high school be this. Thank you.
Krista Ewert.
Krista Ewert, I live in Germantown. Across the nation, we have heard horror stories of Marxist ideologies being integrated into school curriculum. I propose that the Germantown School District adopt the following policies with the specific language that has been used by other states to ensure this ideology is not taught by any name or acronym to our students. In the Germantown School District, teachers and staff shall not direct or otherwise compel students to personally affirm, adopt, or adhere that any sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin is inherently superior or inferior. In the Germantown School District, Teachers and staff shall not direct or otherwise compel students to personally affirm or adopt or adhere that individuals should be adversely treated on the basis of their sex, race, ethnicity, religion, or national origin. In the Germantown School District, teachers and staff shall not direct or otherwise compel students to personally affirm, adopt, or adhere that individuals, by virtue of sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or nation of origin, are inherently responsible for actions committed in the past by other members of the same sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin. In the Germantown School District, no distinction or classification of students shall be made based on race or color. These are pretty basic ideas that everybody, I feel like, should be able to agree on. With that being said, training for our teachers and staff in regards to this hateful ideology should not be paid for with tax dollars on any level. Teachers and staff at all levels should not be forced or pressured or even willfully allowed to implement CRT ideologies into their pedagogic strategies. Please keep this divisive theory that is derived from a Marxist political echo chamber out of our children's classroom. Thank you.
Judy Omet. Judy? Omet? Okay. Ellen Goltry.
Can you hear me? I am here today to speak again in regard to banning CRT and all theories and programs that incorporate like-minded divisive philosophies in our school's curriculum. At its core, CRT is an ideology that teaches students that one race, the white race, bears responsibility for the past actions against another, and that the United States is fundamentally racist, or that a person is inherently privileged or oppressive due to the color of their skin. As I mentioned in my previous speech at the last board meeting, I am a first-generation immigrant, and I did not grow up with white privilege, as CRT suggests. One person last time stated that they don't know what it's like to be an immigrant, so I thought that I would give her and everybody else here a quick lesson. When you left the USSR, you were stripped of your citizenship and banned from ever returning. You were barred from ever having any contact with any remaining relatives. I grew up with all of my needs met: food, shelter, clothing, and an education, but not very much more. My sister, who was 9 at the time, was put into a first-grade class as they thought she was dumb since she could not speak English. By the time I started school, I was made fun of relentlessly and called a communist. I always sat at the very front of my school buses. The one time I tried to sit further back, they put gum in my hair. Both of my parents were very well educated. However, they both lost their degrees as they were not transferable. I hardly saw my father, as he worked 7 days per week as a maintenance mechanic while my mother was feverishly studying English. She then went on to beauty school so that she could make money for her family, where she was made fun of relentlessly for her heavy accent. I could go on, but this is just a brief synopsis. All of this sounds horrible to you all, I am sure, but let me tell you something. None of this comes even close to what it was like in communist Russia, where the country was run by the government and the Russian mob. You had no motivation to excel, because even if you did, it was taken all away by force. If you didn't comply, you got beaten or killed. You were not allowed to practice your religion of choice, as you would be arrested. If you were caught talking badly about your government, you were also arrested or killed. You waited in line for hours for basic human needs such as food, water, and clothing. You lived in 400 to 500 square feet with multiple family members. This is communism. This is CRT. My family overcame great oppression, as we also quickly came to realize that a few ignorant individuals do not define America or any particular race. What makes this country so amazing is its diversity and the different cultures, religions, and freedom that it represents. Every year my family has celebrated on the anniversary day that we came to this country. My father always makes a toast, and it always ends the same way. He says, "God bless America." I can tell you firsthand what America truly represents: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Lastly, we do not agree with having our tax dollars spent on hiring of an equity officer or engaging any firm to conduct an equity audit in the Germantown School District. We do not support these progressive political agendas in our schools. Equity is not equality. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources or opportunities. This is also called a democracy. Equity is a radical anti-American philosophy that demands equal outcomes for everyone. This is also called communism. These buzzwords that directly correlate to CRT need to be removed from our school's website. Look what just happened at Coca-Cola. Research it. You as a board have an obligation to this community. Put your fear and differences aside and do what is right for our families and our children.
Ina?
Good evening. At the last meeting, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, could you restate your name?
Ina Turner.
Thank you.
You're welcome. At the last meeting, we were told that CRT will continue to only be taught in the 2 elective AP classes. So I decided to do a bit of my own research to confirm this. The research turned out to be much easier than I anticipated. All I had to do was click on the district's homepage, and to my surprise, what do I see as the second item under the district's information's link? Nothing other than a link titled Equity. So I hit the link, and then I see a reference to an equity council, followed by a reference to this new ACE committee, with their first agenda item being develop a strategic plan for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to identify areas and issues to target in a strategic plan for diversity, equity, and inclusion in the Germantown School District. The group further identifies 6 main areas where the district will focus when addressing this issue related to equity, and these are the areas, in these areas are school board policy, curriculum, professional development, how we saw exactly what that was all about in Brenda O'Brien's email to the teachers, followed by hiring, student advocacy, and committee parent engagement. How then can this board honestly say that CRT is not here? And how can they assure us that this will not spill over to our children when it is being pushed across every area within this district? Sadly, CRT, under the current buzzword of equity, is here, and a full agenda is laid out clearly right on the district's own website, including already a chart to what that gentleman referred to, breaking down our kids by their race and their ethnicity. Shame on you. I ask every parent that cares about their kids to take immediate action to have this wiped out of your school before your kids are fully indoctrinated into this crazy ideology that divides them by the color of their skin and their ethnic background. Last meeting, I listened to a parent go on and on about the need to celebrate every culture, all our differences, etc. I say, how about we first start by celebrating one thing that actually unites all of us. We are Americans, and we live in the only country on the planet that is still free and strives, while not always perfectly, to provide life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. If any of you think that you live in a racist country where we need to teach our children that their differences make them better or worse than other children, I urge you to go to live in a Marxist socialist country, much like the one my sister talked about, that my parents escaped from. Then you will realize what you truly have in this country. So again, I say, if you care about your kids, get this garbage fully out of your school before it's too late, and replace it with teaching our kids respect for each other, loving thy neighbor, and that they live in the greatest country on earth.
Alyssa Paulo.
Hello, Alyssa Paulo, Germantown. Last week, 23 advocacy groups submitted a letter to the U.S. Department of Education expressing their deepest concerns for the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education's proposed priorities for American history and civics education. This letter spoke to the dangers of implementing CRT and other equity-based and race-based education within our K-12 schools. This letter was also supported by 20 state attorney generals. A nationwide poll conducted by Parents Defending Education last month reported that 70% of respondents said it was not important to teach students that their race is the most important thing about them, while 74% said that they opposed teaching students that white people are inherently privileged and Black and other people of color are inherently oppressed. The majority of our country is against this material, and it is growing by the day. To respond to Mr. Pollock's comments, you said, give us the chance to do whatever research we need. The board first voted to ban CRT on April 12th, and part of your campaign while running was to not allow CRT or other radical theories in the schools. It is now the end of May. Have you not been researching and educating yourselves on this topic the whole time? Or are you using ongoing research as your excuse to keep kicking this can down the road? I personally have sent you each a list of 50 well-vetted sources that provide you with thorough analysis of CRT, and I have also provided you with alternative curriculums that are free of charge from the Bill of Rights Institute, the 1776 Unities, and Foundation for Individual Rights to Education. To piggyback off Mr. Loth's comments, we are already failing in reading, writing, and arithmetic. As I stated last meeting, our high school students have a 51% math proficiency and a 57% reading proficiency. That is a failing grade by any other measure. How much further do we need to fall? We are setting up the next generation of students to fail miserably. We already have budget issues and we need to stretch a dollar. Why choose to spend the limited resources we have on an equity director or consulting firms? Mequon Thiensville recently paid $42,000 for an equity audit. Instead of spending similar funds, why not invest in our students and get tutors and after-school programs to help bring up these failing math and reading scores? To the ACE Committee's concern that our staff doesn't reflect our students' percentage, we should not be hiring teachers based on their race, gender, ethnicity, or other immutable characteristics. We should not be solely focused on filling racial quotas. We should be hiring teachers who have the best skills to be educating our students regardless of their race, gender, or ethnicity. And I do not believe that we have a shortage of applicants to teach in our district. We are a desirable school district. Lastly, based on the ACE Committee's presentation today and based on the emails I have exchanged with individual board members, it remains unclear when the ACE Committee meets and how other members of the community can attend these meetings. If the ACE Committee is going to expand their presence within our schools and meet with various student bodies, there must be complete transparency, posting their agendas ahead of time, free access for all community members to attend these meetings, and minutes from these meetings posted within 48 hours. Thank you.
Rhonda Gomes. Vonda.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. Since I did not receive a response from the board, I'm going to read an edited version of the letter I sent to each of you in April of this year after the meeting I attended. First of all, thank you to everyone here in the auditorium and the folks that were at that meeting in April who has had the courage to stand up against intolerance, disrespect, bullying, and threats. It was a shocking meeting. I moved to Germantown 2 months ago, so I'm new to the happenings here and dismayed to hear about the struggles at the high school. I have 5 grown kids and 1 child finishing high school. My family and my extended family is multi-ethnic. We have followed and continue to strive to follow Martin Luther King's principles. When we think of principles, we realize they are the best of the best goals to always strive for. One of our country's founding principles was that all men are created equal. We have not lived up to this. The story of our country is a story of failures and struggles to live up to this. We put it on plaques, but we didn't live up to it. We put all sorts of principles on our statues. We humans here put principles on posters and pictures in our homes. Yet we all know that we fall short. But all men being created equal, meaning no one, no institution, not you, no policy can change the equal worth and dignity of a person. That is true. So we must not throw it out just because we have failed. Living up to principles is a messy process. It means our own ways of applying them are constantly open to challenge and nuance. And we have to be good listeners. It sounds messy and confusing that our ethnic kids avoid Milwaukee area, where they sense expectations about belonging to a group identity rather than to themselves as individuals. It seems some people believe their group identity is more important than their individual identity. Our kids just want to be themselves and belong to their family and friends who take them for who they are. Their ethnic appearance and my ethnic appearance do not divide us. When I was at UW-Madison in School of Nursing in 2011, my graduate project was on self-determination theory. It focuses on the essential need individuals have for autonomy, not to be coerced, for competence, and a community that supports them no matter how they choose to live as unique individuals. I want to see that kind of education in this country. I'm going to summarize in conclusion because I don't have enough time. Fair for all, the Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism. Report in response to the U.S. Department of Education's efforts to promote CRT. In conclusion, American history and society are multifaceted and complex. They cannot be reduced to a single narrative. That's too easy. It's too easy. And there's been too much bullying and cruelty going on at these schools, and any of you that have been on the school board for too long have been silent about it. You're right, but now you're going to use CRT as your quick virtue signal. It's too easy. You've got more work that needs to be done.
Time.
If we could stick to topics that are new and that we haven't heard yet, we are going to run out of time and not everyone will get to speak. So if you could shorten up your comments, that would be appreciated. Sarah Larson.
Good evening. Just a couple comments on several of the agenda items. First of all, masks. I'm asking that you revisit my motion from the April 12th meeting and make masks optional for the remainder of the year effective June 1st. We need to start returning to normal sooner rather than later. The other thing is visibility for parents to what happens in the classroom. As much as COVID has been a challenge, it also has been a blessing because some of the virtual has really shown a light on some of the things that take place. And so I ask that this district take the lead and have all of our curriculum, classroom lesson plans, resources, reading materials placed on our district website, and this would hopefully increase parental involvement, bridge the district and community confidence level, and avoid unwanted public exposure or surprise of a teacher using materials that the administration had not approved. Concerning CRT and the ad hoc curriculum committee tonight, I wanted to mention, as a board member, it's one thing to say that we have a great community and great engagement, but until COVID, on one hand, we maybe had this many people at 5 meetings, and they didn't show up at follow-up meetings to continue supporting a topic and supporting it. So yes, we have engaged parents, but they have short attention spans and busy lives. And so I think for those here who feel passionate about this topic and want to see what's going on, you can't just show up to 1 or 2 meetings. You have to be here and be engaged. It isn't a once and done. And so then that also brings me to CRT isn't an equity program, and it should not be used as such. It may not look like it's being used at all in the district, but it starts to become dicey when we talk about professional development. And I think you look at the pedagogy that they start working into that. And so I would strongly encourage that if we are going to have any professional development for the teachers, perhaps the board should sit through those training sessions first, Or one better, we've got this beautiful facility. Why not open it up to not only staff, but the community as well, if we are truly trying to broaden the perspective? There's no doubt then, if parents don't wonder, okay, are the teachers being taught to indoctrinate the children further if they're going to some other separate training sessions? So CISA offers free events. I don't know why they couldn't come and just present to an auditorium like this. And now, the other thing is, I'm a realist, and you probably are going to end up sticking with allowing CRT in the AP classes. So I encourage you to put the guidelines on our website as to what is CRT in this district and what it is not.
Brandy Peterson.
Hi, my name's Brandy Peterson. I'm a parent in Germantown, and one thing we haven't really talked about is Germantown has a real student expectation and discipline problem. Kids are allowed to continue bullying others without consequences that deter future behavior. Germantown's school district has to be willing to deal with students who do not change their behavior. I have firsthand experience. I've pulled my daughter out of Germantown in the past 4 years, twice, and she's currently out. So if you did a survey of parents of bullying behaviors that have not been dealt with and that continue, I would be interested to see the results. That is something that's big, and a lot of maybe some of the things that have happened that are racially insensitive and horrible, maybe those wouldn't have happened had some kids been dealt with. I really have a problem that it's not flowing here, but I really have a problem with using the word equity. If Germantown is concerned with equity, I heard a really good line this week about, I was watching an educational video, and it said, if you want, with the equality, you want equal outcomes, but if you don't have equal performance, you have to lower the standards. And I don't think Germantown wants to do that. This is ridiculous. We need to treat I guarantee if my daughter was a minority, she would have been treated differently. No doubt about it. I also am against the culture climate survey that the ACE committee said they wanted to give at the resource hour. My son will know not to take that survey. Look at the resource for it. Look at the place that they got that from. This is the stuff we need to look into. Where did that come from? Look at the source and then let us know.
Jody Graff.
Jody Graff, Germantown. Thank you. I really don't even know what to say anymore. I've written so many speeches, and I'm so tired. I can't believe that we're here really talking about skin, and that while we do that, our kids are having their mouths covered in school. It just really upsets me. I'm all for further transparency. I would love to see that, Brian. Thank you. I love the idea of ACE being fully open to the public because I feel like we're all begging to participate. We want to be part of that. And the curriculum idea that Sarah had of having speakers present to all of us so that we can all participate and support you in what we all want for our kids is excellent. I very much question why at the 5:30 meeting when it was presented that these books are going to be brought into elementary school, and if the teacher likes them, they can have further training. Why does a teacher need further training on friendship and these simple things? There must be something more behind it, and I appreciate that these books are going to be put out for all of us to see, and that is key. It was also said at 5:30 that legislators should be making decisions on CRT. Nothing could possibly terrify me more. And you said that the parents will keep everything in check. Here we are trying so hard to keep things in check. please, we don't need to talk about banning CRT. We need to talk about banning anything that is discriminatory and segregating our kids. And that includes whether or not they're vaccinated, whether or not they're masks. The masks need to stop now. It's all about complacency. We cannot have this anymore. It's very simple. I'm not anti-mask. I'm not anti-vax. I'm just pro-parental freedom. That is what we need here. So vote for freedom, please. Vote for masks to be a choice effective tomorrow. And with that, to not have the quarantining have contingencies. If a kid is healthy, they are welcome to return to school, and the parents may continue to make responsible choices on monitoring symptoms. Thank you.
Melissa Thierman.
Thank you. Melissa Thierman, Germantown. I'd like to ask our board to make masks a choice starting now. Change the guideline regarding quarantines for close contacts that are healthy and choose to be mask-free. And do not promote an experimental vaccine for ages 12 and up. Let schools provide quality, unbiased education and let parents do the parenting. You have already voted to make masks a choice starting with summer school. There is no reason masks should not be a choice starting now. Please vote to make masks a choice. Regarding the previous decision to make close contact quarantine parent choice, but only if the close contact was wearing a mask, a healthy child who was in close contact with a student who was positive for COVID should not need to miss face-to-face school if they choose to not wear a mask. There should not be separate standards for masked versus unmasked children. I also strongly believe that teachers, staff, and the Germantown School District as a whole should in no way be promoting the experimental COVID vaccines. This includes any future guidelines that would discriminate between vaccinated and unvaccinated children. I realize that every parent needs to make this decision for their children. I, for one, will not allow my children to receive an experimental vaccine because there are far too many unknowns, and children have a survival rate of 99.9998%. The risk of the experimental vaccine by far outweighs the risk of getting them sick, or of them getting sick from the virus itself. Why have all these separate guidelines for all the different scenarios? There should only be one guideline for close contact quarantines, despite whether a child is wearing a mask or not, or vaccinated or not. Healthy children should be in school face-to-face, period. Separate guidelines will only create more separation and discrimination in our schools. Thank you.
Maureen Fitzgerald. Maureen.
Maureen Fitzgerald. I have a son in Germantown High School. I worked in education for 15 years in a variety of positions, including elementary school classroom teacher, curriculum, on curriculum committees, as well as a K-12 instructional coach. When I started my program to learn about education, the dean of the School of Education offered up a quote that he said, as long as my class continued to keep that in mind, we couldn't go wrong with our students. And it's actually the Margaret Mead quote that Brian said earlier, which was, students must be taught how to think, not what to think. As different curriculums go in and out of fashion, textbooks come and go, the basic tenets of that remain the same. In order to teach students how to think, students need to be exposed to a variety of ideas, openly examine these ideas, challenge them, poke holes in them, and then share their findings and conclusions with others in open discussions. While CRT poses as a way to expose students to new ideas and new ways of looking at their world, it actually doesn't. CRT does not present itself as one of the many ideas or viewpoints, but rather the only idea and viewpoint. CRT does not allow students to poke holes in it or examine it. It tells students if they don't accept its assertions, there is something wrong with them. They are fragile. They are threatened. And they need to sit down and be quiet. CRT tells them that their voice does not have an intrinsic value, that their value depends on solely what their social identity is or what the melanin level of their skin is. When we were looking at different curriculums, no matter what district I worked in, we always compared the curriculum and the mission statement of our school. I'll remind you the district mission statement of Germantown is to empower and inspire every student to success. CRT does not have a place here as it does not do that.
Gail Trepp. I'm sorry? Okay, Dan Cano, come on down. He is signed up, by the way. Okay.
Well, thank you, and thank you, President Medved, and congratulations on your new position. And that was not necessary to move me ahead of the others, but I'll take advantage of it. I'm a Germantown resident, Ridgefield Court in Germantown, and in full disclosure and transparency, I also serve as the state representative for the 24th Assembly District, which includes all of Germantown. I want to thank you all for the work that you do as elected officials. Also, you come forward to give your time and effort, and it's a very challenging position that you have taken on. So I'm here tonight to offer some assistance to you. I did watch the April 26th meeting on the live stream, and your administrators did you a great disservice. When they have someone presenting in front of you with a one-sided opinion, someone who's already on the staff as a teacher, telling you what curriculum should be introduced and why, that is a disservice to you. Those opinions should come from outside staff, not people who are already on staff. If we hear about their beliefs, which we heard that night, one teacher saying America is structurally racist, well, we already know where their mind is and what they believe. And that's going to extend into the classroom. And that's a problem. So the cancer is already in the system. And now it needs to be addressed. I will just want to let you know that there is in process right now in the state legislature 3 bills to ban critical race theory in the curriculum. However, I do want to recognize the person who spoke who was terrified of legislators making these decisions. That's a very rational thought. And that's what I want to finish with is the relationship with the state government and your state legislatures. School districts, public school districts, are state government. They were created by state government, as many other levels of government are, local, county. And the state government dictates many things, mandates many things, and I know that's uncomfortable to local leaders. However, that is the system that is set up right from the budget, which we're deliberating on right now, to the curriculum, which is the CRT bills that I just mentioned. So I want to partner with you in that effort, but that is the system and we have to work with it. But in the finish, I want to offer to you the staff. It's hard to be a part-time person. You don't have staff, you don't have the time, but you do have 2 staff, full-time people in my office that are already on your payroll, and everybody else's payroll in this room that you can use as a resource. So I ask you to do that. I'll be reaching out to you further on this particular subject, but please take advantage of the people that are already at your service. And they can do some research for you, gather information, and help you to make the important decisions that you're going to be making in the near future. Thank you.
Dan, if I could just quickly, I know we've been playing phone tag and trying to get in touch with each other. I welcome a chance for us to get together and have a conversation as soon as possible.
Yeah, and thank you. You all
Please
received a
continue
letter
to
from me
Or have
previous
your
to this, and a number of you did reach out and connect with me. I appreciate that. So I'm happy to be on the agenda, if you see it that way, to meet with you. I've met with the administration already, and we'll continue to reach out to do that as well. So
Thank you. Janine Hendrick. Heidenreich? Janine? I have a signature here. I'm not sure I can read this. Looks like last name Cleveland, possibly? I cannot make out the first name. Kelly Beecher.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Betcher. I am a mom of 2 boys within the Germantown School District, working on a 3rd one that's up and coming. Not in me. God, no, help me. I was asked to read a statement that was prepared by someone else again tonight. I did not prepare my own words for this evening, so I'm just going to read this for you. Regarding masks. Masks should be a parent's choice. Everyone's been so obsessed with following the CDC guidelines and, you know, what we should do. So let's talk about this. Hospitals in our area follow CDC guidelines because they care for the most vulnerable population that are at their worst. But the majority of our children and the majority of our community are healthy and at the lowest risk for contracting COVID and experiencing those severe symptoms. Children ages 0 to 14 have a survival rate of 99.9998, so essentially 0 risk. Ages 15 to 44 survival rate is 99.9931, so again, we're looking at essentially 0 risk. The data shows that CVC cases spiked at the same rate and level in masked and unmasked states. If the masks are really working as well as the CDC claims, shouldn't the data show the low numbers in those states that are masked? And is this the kind of data we need to look at outside of, isn't there data that we need to look at outside of the CDC to get the perspective without blindly following? We went too far in the name of caution because 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and it is what it is. But now it's time to rein it back in. The CDC also gives us general guidelines in the community to determine if that makes sense for our population. And it really should be up to each parent to determine what is best for their children and within their household. Let's be clear, the CDC is not the end-all be-all. Just the same as we should get multiple quotes and opinions for things like bus companies, we shouldn't exhaust resources while knowing there are extensive alternatives as well as doctors who do disagree with the CDC. I personally, interjection, have family that is very much embroiled in research with COVID and the vaccine that will very much dispute the CDC. Whenever we make decisions about our children's health and well-being, we cannot only go based on the opinion of the CDC. They're constantly changing their guidelines. Let's look at what's not changing. They have their exercise recommendation, 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity every week, plus 2 days of muscle strengthening. For kids, they look at 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity per day, and they shouldn't be wearing a mask while doing this. That is detrimental to their health. The CDC also recommends eating a variety of fruits and vegetables and protein-rich foods, paying attention to portion sizes and calories. So by those rights, we should take a look at school lunches, because I'll tell you, my kids come home and tell me they eat a mozzarella stick stuffed into a breadstick. That's not a quality lunch. And so are we going to look at these guidelines because we have that option? Basically, we're asking for choice. The CDC has their guidelines. We're asking for choice because those guidelines don't seem to make sense anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Monica Curtis.
Hi, my name is Margaret Curtis. I grew up in Germantown. I graduated from Germantown High School in 2005. My husband and I have 2 small children in the Germantown School District. First, I want to ask the school board to reconsider putting high school and middle school students in the same buses. It was that way when I was a student at Kennedy, and in 6th grade, I was physically assaulted on the bus by 3 high school boys. This happened twice. Both times I reported it. The first time it was ignored. It wasn't until my father called the middle school vice principal and threatened legal action that either school bothered to get the police involved. That could have been avoided if we were just bused separately. Second, I think we should keep masks mandatory for elementary school, at least for the fall semester. Right now, we only have vaccines available for kids ages 12 and older. Let's keep the mask mandatory for elementary school until a vaccine is available for all school-age children, and give parents ample time to get their kids vaccinated. None of us are enjoying this.
Please don't
None of
interrupt.
us are enjoying this. But let's just keep trying to keep our kids safe. Thank you.
Thank you. We are currently out of time. I have 3 people left. If you could just let us know what your topic is and what you are in favor of or against. Darian Kling. You could just say it from there if you like.
Second shift custodial services. I was just going to tell you about my experience in looking at outsourcing that in the past and relate some of the risk factors.
So you're against outsourcing?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Renee Welnick. Thank you. Carrie Bruckbacher. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Since most of you spoke on topics that'll be on the agenda tonight, we'll be reacting to your comments, hopefully with some answers to your questions later on. Item 4, approval of the minutes, May 10th, 2021, Board of Education. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the Board of Education minutes from May 10th.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Number 5, reports and information items. A, Pupil Services Teaching and Learning 3 to 5 year strategic plans. Mr. Stousel.
Yes, thank you. So last time you heard the 3-year plan from Business Services, Mrs. Altendorf, and Human Resources, Mr. Nowak. And tonight you'll hear Mr. Lamb speak about Pupil Services and Ms. O'Brien about teaching and learning. Mr. Lamb.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stousland. You do have a copy of the action plan within the board packet, so I'm just going to essentially highlight, do some summarization. There are 3 different goals within the plan, and the first goal pertains to services to our students, with the first objective being primarily about access for students with disabilities to be educated in settings along with their non-disabled peers to the maximum extent possible. And some of the action steps include looking to build upon the current continuum of service delivery models that we have across our special education and regular education environments. We know that there's an increasing number of students with internalizing behaviors such as anxiety and depression. So looking to research, select, and implement a variety of different intervention curriculums that would meet their needs. And some of these items here are based on survey information specifically from our parents, including a shared goal among parents and staff for students to increase their levels of independence. So working towards additional greater self-advocacy for our students with disabilities. The second objective pertains primarily to collaborative practices and expands upon our opportunities for staff, parents, support staff, all of our related service providers to collaborate amongst each other. And some of that involves creating common planning times within the schedule for them to meet with each other. Some of that also includes continuing to promote family engagement by providing resources to parents and more opportunities for parents to participate. And the third objective focuses primarily upon professional development and training staff to directly align service delivery with the targeted student needs, and helping with our onboarding process for our new staff that are hired to the district, that they may begin by hitting the ground running, and looking to develop a within-district staff network of subject matter experts to provide some in-house consultation to their colleagues across the district. Goal area number 2 pertains primarily to compliance and accountability and using compliance information for continuous improvement. Looking to help everyone remain current with changing state and federal guidelines, and preparing our staff for cyclical audits even when we're not in the middle of an audit process to maximize, maintain or exceed the performance on the indicators that we are held accountable to. And then goal area number 3 pertains primarily to commitment of resources. We do know that the needs of our students continue to increase, and so this looks at ways that we can increase our revenue either through a combination of things, such as being mindful about how we document resources, the language we use in our IEPs, as well as strategically coding costs with the business office so that we can maximize our reimbursements from other sources, and to also apply for grants where we may be eligible for them. We're looking to continuously work more efficiently with the resources we have, while also looking for opportunities to increase resources where we can. So that's just an overall summary of the plan.
Thank you. Any questions from the board for Mr. Lamb?
Not so much a question, I suppose, more of a comment, because anytime I see a few of the words used here, strategic plans, goals, objectives, action steps, obviously there's always a bit of a moving target. There's always a bit of evolution throughout the process. But one thing that, a couple of comments. One is anywhere that we see mention of parents, I'd like for us, parent workshops specifically, I'd like to make sure that we spend a little more emphasis on making sure that the community is aware of these things, and that whenever they are scheduled, that we make sure that communication goes home to them. The other thing I'd also like to see built out a bit more, because specifically whenever I see goals, action steps and objectives are great, but we need measurement. We need some sort of identification as far as how are we meeting those goals? How are we implementing these action steps and seeing results? So that if it's working, we can share that with people. If it's not working, we can start to course correct and adapt, I should say, these different plans that we're putting in place.
Okay.
Ms. O'Brien?
Sure. The 3-year plan for the Teaching and Learning Department includes a cover page that provides a 1-page overview of the key areas in the planning for the next 5 years. And these 3 areas include engagement in learning, the curriculum development, as well as professional development. And then just the subsequent pages of this document provide the details within these 3 areas. The indicators are also on the cover page, and I would really like to align those to the board goals as well, so that we have alignment between this document and the board goals. The budgetary implications are also listed on the cover page. And then within the 3 areas, there are more specifics around the essential success factors, as well as the whole child development that Mr. Medved mentioned earlier this evening. So it gives some specifics around those areas, as well as our ongoing efforts with our writing initiative, and then the content areas of reading as well. Thank you.
Questions?
Seeing none, we'll move on. Item B, COVID cost report. Mr. Stoughton.
Yes, I'll hand that over to Ms. Altendorf.
Mike Nowak from the HR department, as well as myself, will once again be going through the COVID report through April 30th. We have 2 more reports for this school year. As you can see on the reports, the costs for COVID expenses are decreasing. So I will again go over the top portion, which are the consumables and supplies, and then Mr. Nowak will be going through the bottom, which is the personnel, and then near the bottom shows our total expenditures, the 2 CARES dollars or ESSER dollars that we've received already, and then the balance of the funds that would come out of fund balance as of right now. So in sanitation and prevention, we've spent $239. I'm not used to small numbers like that. $239 in the month of April, and then $1,455 for the sanitation of our buses between routes. And then I will have Mike Nowak go through the personnel section.
Thank you. On the personnel side, we see trend lines that seem to be consistent. During April, there's a slight increase in use of in-house subs as well as long-term subs, and I would point to situational needs for both those increases, but they're not significant in nature, and they're consistent, as I said, with the trend lines that we've seen.
Any questions?
Seeing none, we will move on. Item C, website and district app update. Mr. Stousland.
Yes, I'm going to have Angie Packer talk in just a second, but we've been, we means Angie, has been working on a new website, and this isn't a cost savings, and it's not a cost increase, but it's going to make us more efficient and going to provide more opportunities for parents to connect with the district, especially with the app. And you could go home now, because you can't do it in here because the Wi-Fi is not good enough, but go to the App Store and download you'll see Germantown School, and you'll be able to download that app. And you'll have easy access to find teachers, lunch menus, all those good things. So, and that will go live on May 28th. So towards the end of this week, if you normally go to the website, you won't notice anything different from the the address, the www.gsd.org, will still be the same. It will look a little different, and I'll show you, hopefully. So, and I'll have Angie talk about it a little bit, and then we'll talk about the app.
Yeah. Well, actually, I wanted to talk about the app first. If you can go to the PDF of your other.
No, she's making it different.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted everyone to see the app first. The company we're partnering with on doing this really pushes the mobile aspect of communicating with families. So everything that you need on a day-to-day basis is going to be in your hand. And you've got it's Germantown School District WI, and you can download it now. Keep in mind, like we said, the site itself is not live until Friday, is what we're shooting for. So you might see some things that are not quite finished up yet, but you'll get this welcome screen and then go ahead and click. So when you first log in, Germantown School District, you see at the top, that will be what your default will be. But if you go down to the lower part of the app of the screen, there was a little school, and you'll click on that, and that's where you can add, if you want to subscribe to specific locations, say you have a kid at middle school and high school, you can select those feeds. We do ask that you keep the Germantown School District feed or subscription as well, because when you get to the next screen and you're working on the different levels of the app, so go to the next one, you are only going to be seeing the content related to that location. So if you've picked the high school, everything that you now interact with on the app from here on relates to the high school. It's going to be the high school's news feed, it's going to be their calendar of events, it's going to be their menu. To navigate the app, you're going to use the menu button down in the lower corner, and if you click the next, you'll have different options available depending on the location. So the high school, because it has more activities and things, sporting events, it has more options within this main menu that you will not see at the district level or at some of the elementary schools. But each of these correlate to content within the app. So click again. So this is what a news feed might look like for the high school. We've got daily announcements, news stories, things that might resemble a Facebook post that are just short little informational tidbits. If you open the calendar, you're going to have a running list of what's going on at that location. This is just events. This is not sporting events. This is graduation. This is exam schedules. There's no school today. If there's a location provided, it's a simple click to get directions within. You can choose Apple Maps or Google Maps on an iPhone. I don't have an Android, so I'm not sure if it's just Google Maps there. Go again. You're going to have the directory for that location accessible right from your phone. You can filter if you want to not see all 300 people. You can filter by function or department. When you click on the person, you'll get the ability to dial direct or email. Next, you'll have your daily menu for that location. At the bottom is where you'll link if you're one of those families that needs to know nutritional content for a particular diet. You'll get that down at the bottom of that menu. And then one more, I think we've got. All the documents, forms, menus, schedules are able to be stored in a document repository or whatever you want to call it for each location. If you're not seeing something in a particular location, say you're in the elementary school and you can't find medical forms, take a look into the district level because that might be where we're keeping it. So if you want to go back to the website.
So just a quick question. I know a lot of families like to print out the monthly food.
That will be in the food and nutrition folder at each location. And you'll still have that PDF with the daily menu, or that you can have your kids circle what they want to eat. So if you go up a little bit so we can see the top menu. So similar to what we just saw on the app, if you click on the menu button, at the top of the screen, those circles that I just pointed out some of the things for are going to be accessible. You're just going to see it in a web version of it. And then your traditional way of organizing the content on our current site has just been sliced and diced in a similar fashion for this new layout. So some of these are links, some of these are pages. Unfortunately, it doesn't indicate that unless you're just hovering over, and you'll have to look and see what the URL is. So there's your live feed. We don't have many stories flowing in here yet. Some of these are just test stories. And some of the other schools are already starting to populate their content. So when you go there, you might see some news stories that you weren't even aware of. So if you go to like Amy Bell, they might have their, I don't think they have too much up there yet, but they have their newsletter and maybe some little information. All of these blue buttons are quick links. So these are going to be helpful to find things a little quicker. Again, this is on the website version, not on the mobile version, but now you still have your menu available to you. And you can click back and you're back on the website. So.
Thank you, and thank you for all your work on this.
Yes, this looks really good. Does this allow for push notifications? Like if
This
there's a
allows
weather?
for push notifications.
Okay.
It has text alerts. We're going to be testing a text alert after school gets out, so everyone will get little school's out text alert, so we can make sure that works before we cancel who we're using now for things like that. If people find errors, please send it my way. We have been building this for a couple months, but until people use it and we can get some feedback of how it's working, if you're, you know, if things aren't still able to be found, I'd appreciate the feedback back so that I know that people are finding the things. But like we said, the app is available now. It's working. Some schools are using it. And as the schools themselves get used to this new method of delivering information, we'll start to use it more and more as we get to understand what it's capable of.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, a website refresh has been long overdue because it's almost impossible to find anything on our current website.
Yep.
And having an app makes it even better because our current website is not mobile friendly. So
Right.
much appreciated.
Yep.
Mike?
I really appreciate your adding that WI on that Germantown School District, because
We do get calls for Tennessee.
yes, yeah, there's many Germantowns in the country, and you know, sometimes when I try and look at a neighboring district's website or somewhere in Wisconsin, it doesn't say WI, and I don't know if I'm at the right district or not. So thank you for that.
Okay, moving on to D, board meeting schedule 2021-22. Mr. Stousland.
Yes, so in your packet were the board meetings looking into next school year starting in July. And still everything was on the kind of the second Monday of the month and the fourth Monday of the month. But one piece for conversation tonight, no decision has to be made, but Brian and I talked, and one of the ideas honestly for greater transparency is to have our committee meetings on the second Monday of the month. And then we could be more specific about the things that we'd be talking about on the fourth Monday of the month, so that agenda would clearly list the items that were coming forward from the committee meetings. And if there was a reason or a situation where we needed a board meeting for a time-sensitive matter, we could still have that on the second Monday of the month. So the one area that I had a question about was finance, to get their vouchers in by the third Monday, but I spoke with Brittany, and she said that's not an issue because everything's just backed up by 2 weeks, but it wouldn't be an issue there. So it's a change, it's a new thought. That's why we just put it on so you could hear about it and then chew on it a little bit. And it's something we have till July to get started with things. So I don't know if there's questions or comments.
Tom?
Yeah, I like the idea, because a lot of stuff that we work on at the board level because it was advanced from committee. So this gives us an opportunity to talk about it at committee and have 2 weeks if we need to do more research before it comes to the full board.
Mike?
I'm resistant to change, like a lot of people. Transportation, for example, redrawing lines for school districts. Nobody wants change, but I'd be willing to try it. Looks like it might work, and if it doesn't work, we just revert back to what we've been doing after a few months.
Yeah, Brett and I really like this idea. I think it streamlines the process a little bit, having one full board meeting and having committee meetings. We're already scheduled basically to work on those days, so it makes committee meetings a little bit easier, and you don't have the time constraints, and you're not pushing it right into a board level. You have plenty of time to consider issues. Helps with transparency. I think all the way around, this is a good idea. So if we can make this work, I think it'll benefit everybody. Any other comments?
I absolutely agree with Tom. Obviously, being newer to the board, going through some of these things for the first time, there's a bit of a learning curve, but when I would be in the audience, there'd be times when I'd kind of wonder, you know, it just came up in the committee, and sometimes 10 minutes later, the board's acting on it. And not that that's a bad thing, but sometimes it did seem like maybe there should have been a little bit of time to chew on, and I think this gives the ability to do that, but also I think the general public sometimes doesn't realize that there's something coming up or going on, and in the way that we release the agendas on the Thursday or Friday before, sometimes people are panicked, they need to be here, they feel they need to be here. This way they can, if they can't make it on the committee night, they can always watch the feed and be ready for public comment or emails or whatever they'd like to share with us for the board meeting.
Very good. Anyone else?
What about public speaking? Right now, it looks like we have 2 times per month, you know, and if we're going to limit it to an hour, what do we do for that? Second.
I'm actually hopeful moving forward we'll limit it to 15 minutes.
Well, it might not go 15 minutes for a while, it looks like. I don't know.
Well,
you know, we'll see.
We have a lot of stuff going on right now, obviously, and we'll allow the hour. But again, I'm conscious of people's time. People have families, people have things to do. We have to go to work in the morning. This is not our full-time job. I think we need to...
And you work for us.
I understand that. I fully understand that. Okay, please, please. This is our time to talk. We gave you your time to talk. I have emails that I read from everyone. I've heard most of what everyone had to say tonight, and so is the rest of the board. We're open, we're transparent. Our phone numbers are on the website. You can call us, you can email us. We're ready to hear what you have to say. We're not against you, believe me. We're on the same team, I hope.
Yeah, you only want to hear from us for 15 minutes, but you're not against us?
Correct.
That's shutting us up. Oh, that's unacceptable. That's not acceptable.
Okay, we're moving on. E, committee assignments.
Yeah, it exists.
Everyone has the list of committee assignments. And if anyone has any questions or concerns, please bring them back to me, and we'll address them. Any comments on those?
I
Thank
notice
you.
Bob doesn't have many assignments.
No, this is great.
What's going on?
Oh, he's got a couple.
Yeah, looks good, Brian.
He's semi-retired, I believe. Personnel Committee. A, discussion and action regarding restructuring of cash in lieu benefits.
Yes, we have two motions coming forward for this particular item. The first is a positive recommendation to the board for the 2021-2022 school year to reduce cash in lieu from $4,500 to $4,100.
That comes to a board with positive recommendation, does not require a second. Do I have discussion?
Yeah, as you may have seen in the background, this is estimated it'll save around $50,000.
I'm just checking the other motions on here. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
All right, our second motion on this item is a positive recommendation to the board. Approve reducing the current cash in lieu benefit for spouses receiving $4,500 by $1,500 each year starting July 1st, 2021, which will eliminate the benefit totally in 2 more years. In addition, eliminate the benefit for new hires with spouses in the district effective immediately.
Okay, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Do we have discussion?
Yeah.
Tom?
There was some discussion at committee about having this end in 3 years rather than the current plan, which ends it in 2. I guess I'm in favor, if we're going to be reducing someone's take-home pay, I don't want to hit them all too fast. I understand it's a benefit, it's not part of their salary, but it's money that probably a lot of the employees that take this benefit have been having as part of their family budget. So I'm going to make a motion to amend the motion from committee, continue to eliminate the benefit for new hires with spouses in the district effective immediately, but to reduce the amount of this benefit to $3,100 next year, $2,000 for the 2022-2023 year, down to $1,000 for the 2023-2024 school year, and then starting with the 24-25 school year, this benefit would no longer be available.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second, Bob. Any discussion? Tracy?
You said 3,100 for this year?
3,100 for this year, which is essentially a reduction of 1,000 from the new rate of 4,100.
Okay. Let me go through this again, because then I don't understand. So starting July 1st, 2021, the benefit would be?
3,100 for the upcoming school year, then 2,000 the following year, then 1,000 the following year, and that it would be eliminated.
Okay. I'd actually prefer if the July 1, 2021 rate would be reduced to match the current offerings that we just approved of 4,100. And then go from there. So that the cash in lieu that we just approved was 4,100 for this upcoming year, that this would also be reduced to 4,100.
Anyone
Well,
else?
I think the administration brought this forward with the expectation that there would be some savings to fill the budget deficit. And if we're really not reducing it any more than the current or the new rate, then I don't see how we're not really gaining anything this year.
No, I mean, I understand that, but I think there's also a level of fairness to, if you want to say treat everybody equally in the sense that we're reducing both, that we match up with the 4,100 that we already did.
I can understand that, but to me, the benefit is cash in lieu, or said another way, cash instead of insurance. So if you're already on the district's plan and you're getting this extra cash, it almost seems like you're double dipping.
I'm in agreement with Tracy on this one. I would rather grandfather the married couples in and make their amount of cash in lieu the same as the other people in the district. Just because you happen to have a married couple in the district, I don't think you should be treated any differently than a teacher who has a spouse working somewhere else. So I'll be voting no on this one. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? That passes. Moving on to B.
Yes. Discussion and action regarding the elimination of life and disability benefits for support staff working under 35 hours per week. So this will be handled in two separate motions as well. Long-term disability was discussed at the committee level. The life insurance piece is coming straight to the board because it wasn't on our agenda. So committee brings forward with a positive recommendation to the board starting July 1st, 2021 to eliminate long-term disability for support staff that work between 17.5 and 40 hours.
Okay, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, two items. For transparency, I have a spouse who works in the district who is considered support staff, so I will not be voting on this particular item. In addition, the committee's recommendation or motion, I believe, needs to be updated because it referenced 17.5 to 40 hours, but it should be 17.5 to 35 hours.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, Bob makes a motion to amend that. Any second?
Second.
Tracy second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
You're abstaining, aren't you?
Abstain. Well, I'll vote for that change.
Okay.
That amends the motion.
Okay.
Now we need to vote on the
Got it.
amended motion.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain for that.
Okay. That passes. Moving on to D or C?
No, the second part of B would be regarding the elimination of life insurance benefits for support staff that work between 17.5 and 35 hours per week effective July 1st, 2021.
Okay.
And that will need a motion and a second because we did not bring that forward from committee.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain.
That passes.
All right, item C, discussion and action regarding the elimination of longevity pay for support staff. So the recommendation from the Personnel Committee to the Board is to eliminate longevity pay for support staff effective July 1st, 2021.
Okay, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Do I have discussion? Tom?
Yeah, just for clarity, this is not reducing pay for anyone. They will essentially be locked at the pay rate that they were at. It will just eliminate the longevity pay increases, which are separate than the CPI increases that the board may grant.
Correct. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain.
That passes. Keep on.
All right. Item D, discussion and action regarding the elimination of mentor stipends. The committee brings forward a positive recommendation to eliminate the $100 mentor stipend effective July 1st, 2021.
Okay, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Do I have discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Go ahead, Tom.
All right. Item E, discussion and action regarding the elimination of stand-in administrator stipends. We have a positive recommendation from the Personnel Committee to the board to approve eliminating the stipend for stand-in administrators effective July 1st, 2021.
Okay, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Discussion. Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, as I said in committee, I'm against fully eliminating this stipend, especially at the elementary level where they don't have multiple administrators in the building on a daily basis. And I think if we're asking someone to do the work of 2 people, they should get some sort of benefit from it. Maybe the stipend amount isn't the correct amount. Maybe it should be something different. But if we're asking them to do the work of 2 people on certain days, I think they should get something. I guess the only exception might be if someone has aspirations to be an administrator, then this might be some on-the-job training for them. But overall, I'm against this particular motion.
I would agree because there is some level of responsibility that's required with this as well. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I know during the committee meeting last week, Mr. Stousland, you had some dialogue on this, on what the plan B would be if we have the administrator out of the office, out of the school.
Yeah, I mean, it just in previous districts, depending on the situation, but a lot of times the administrator's somewhere just else in the district, like if we're having a leadership team meeting, and if we know someone's going to be out for longer periods of time, like I could sit there, you know, or be in the building, or one of the other district level administrators could be present if we know in advance. But that's not always possible either, so.
Do you wish to table it and bring it back with adjustments, Tom?
You can move forward. I'm just not in favor of it. And I don't know how it would be adjusted to make me in favor of having someone do the job of 2 and only getting the pay for 1.
Yeah, I agree. I think taking another swing at this one might be a good idea. But we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
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 That fails. Continue, Tom?
Yeah, that is all that committee brings forward at this time.
Okay, thank you. Item 7, Ad hoc Curriculum Committee.
Thank you.
Discussion regarding, go ahead. I'll let you take it.
Yep. Thank you. The Ad hoc Curriculum Committee meeting did occur earlier this evening with a few different reports and discussions. There will be nothing brought to the board tonight for consideration. However, I do just want to mention a few things. We started off with a brief discussion of applicable policies regarding CRT. I think I had the numbers correctly. It's 2240 and 5780. We did follow up with a bit of a discussion regarding CRT, how it may exist in the district, different things that could be considered regarding, for instance, sending a letter home for the AP courses and having it be an opt-in rather than what is used for the human growth and development class, which is more of an opt-out process, just for awareness purposes. As far as the ACE reports, we heard on a couple of different topics regarding hiring, student advocacy, community, and professional development. Within those particular areas, like I mentioned, there's nothing coming forward, but I do want to mention a few items. And of course, people can refer back to the live stream that we'll share. With regards to student advocacy, there was a discussion regarding a survey that would be used as a baseline measurement. The recommendation, or at least one of the points mentioned, was that there were some questions that would probably be removed just because it was more staff related than anything else. And of course, we would also review that and also make adjustments or suggestions for possibly additional questions that we may want to ask, or remove other questions that we may not want to ask. There's also mention of something called the Listening Library that involves some free books that promote diversity, anti-bullying, acceptance, and other topics. With regards to this, if we do take under consideration approving that or incorporating that, we would make it available, the book lists available on the website so the parents can review, and that there was a mention that these would not be considered curriculum books. As far as community, I know there was some questions or comments earlier during public comments regarding transparency within the ACE itself. On that equity page that's currently out on the website, I do want to point out a couple of things that were mentioned earlier that will be included within the next several weeks, let's say, regarding the committee members, those meeting minutes, as far as transparency there, or at least providing more transparency as far as that's concerned. Professional development, one last thing here. Mr. Stouslin mentioned the investigation of restorative practices. Can this fit in our schools? Those types of things, as well as some non-curriculum books that would be provided by CESA 6, and working with the Germantown Community Library as well. That is all.
Okay. Mr. Stouslin, would you like to add anything?
No, I thought Tracy did an excellent job.
Okay. I went through some of the policies that we talked about in the committee, and I'll leave it out there since it's been recorded and people can view it. I won't reiterate all of that, but I welcome people to go take a look at that and understand the two policies that I brought up in the motion, controversial issues in the classroom and student-parent rights. I think it's very clear that the district is looking out for our students, that we want transparency, that we want our parents to be engaged in the process. We're not in any way wanting the things that people talked about tonight. And I speak for myself on the board, but I don't think anyone on the board wants any of the things that you people talked about tonight that we know are happening in other districts. We are doing all we can with curriculum, with our board directives to stop any of that from coming into this district. So I hope you understand that. I want to make that very clear. Any other comments? Mike?
I think the material for the curriculum committee should have included printouts of the policies. I didn't actually know that those policies were going to be included, I don't think, tonight. I found out about it through emails.
Okay.
But I think, if we're going to discuss those, they should have been in the material. Because there really was no material in the curriculum committee agenda tonight. We had the agenda and that was it, nothing else.
That's a good point. And I would encourage people to read the entire policy. It's on our website. All of our policies are 2240 and 5780. And I would encourage all the parents to read through the entire policy, because I think it is very informative, talking about what the rights of the parents and the students are and how we are going to be handling. There will be more to come. Brett and I are working on how to handle all controversial issues. We're not singling out anything. We're covering all the topics. So hopefully that clarifies things for people. Any other comments? Okay, moving on to 8, Finance Committee. Mr. Loth.
Yes, the Finance Committee met earlier this evening before the board meeting and before the public speaking section. And it is a public meeting, just for if anyone's questioning it. We approved May vouchers or was it April vouchers? May. Okay, and next item. Finance Committee is a little bit out of order with respect to the board agenda, so I will go by the board agenda. I will translate. Maybe next time we'll keep the items in order if we can, please. The Finance Committee brings forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation to approve the 2021-2022 student fee schedule. Brittany went through those in finance, so I don't think we need to go through them again.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Do we have discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Okay, item 8B. The Finance Committee brings forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation to approve the 2021-2022 facility use fee schedule. And again, Brittany went through that in a fair amount of detail, the changes in particular, and I think we're good, unless you have anything you want to say, Brittany.
No, not unless there's questions.
I'd like to thank Brittany publicly for going through both these items. It's been a horrendous amount of work for her. Brittany started July 1st of 2020 with the school district, so she has had quite a job learning, what was all here when she arrived. So thank you, Brittany, for that.
Okay, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Do we have discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Okay, next item is 8C. The Finance Committee brings forward to the board a motion to move to the full board with a positive recommendation for Altendorf, that's Brittany Altendorf, to negotiate with GSF Company and move forward after negotiations to outsource the Germantown School District second shift custodial staff for cleaning services with said company.
Okay, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Do we have discussion? Tracy.
This one I've wrestled with for a few days now, knowing that my own personal experience with outsourcing that I'm actually currently going through, and the difficulty that can happen with that sort of an arrangement. Certainly, as we've all probably received several emails with some concerns from parents regarding background checks and how we will manage and make sure that the expectations are made known, whichever direction we go with regards to the service level agreements that we would establish. I certainly can appreciate the savings, since one of the main goals for this year, written or unwritten, is a balanced budget, and that is something we absolutely need to do for this community. I'm struggling with it though, because while I can appreciate the savings for this coming year, maybe you can share with us some projections regarding what would be expected, because I know with GSF, and maybe I could be reading this incorrectly, so please correct me if I'm wrong, under the miscellaneous projected annual increase not to exceed 5%, when I read something like that, I assume it's going to be 5%. So, rightly or wrongly. So while we may be saving money this coming year, what's the trade-off in years 2, 3, 4 by going this route?
So the motion tonight is for me to start negotiations with the vendors chosen tonight. So I would negotiate something along the lines of that we would have similar to our transportation contract, which would be equal to CPI and not to exceed 2% or whatever the dollar, whatever the percentage that is. I don't agree with the 5%. That's one of the reasons that I did not vote for the company initially. I do not agree with the 5% increase. So in the negotiations with the contract, that would be reduced. Otherwise, I'd be coming back to the board. In regards to background checks, I did speak at the Finance Committee, and I believe you were here. Do you want me to repeat myself? Yeah. Otherwise, we will either write in the contract that we get to also do the background checks, or we do the background checks, or we are purview to the information that's pulled from the background checks.
Yeah, I would think we need to be clear on how those background checks are handled, and we definitely need to be participating in those. I think I agree with your comments, Tracy. A lot of what you said is true. I struggled with this as well, but looking at the significant cost savings and the fact that the vast majority of our employees will continue on, just having to work for another company, and some of them will even benefit from it in a way. I'm going to have to support this one because it is a significant dollar savings, and we do have a right with the company to insist that our buildings are clean. And we can fire a company easier than we can fire employees if they're not doing the job. So I am in support of this one. Any other comments?
I'm in support of it because we do have budget difficulties, and I'm trying to make balancing the budget easier, for a business administrator rather than more difficult. So yes, I support it. I think we will keep the company that we select on a short leash, and if things aren't going well, we will make changes.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I too support it. $302,000 is significant. The question I would have is, if we don't go down this path, and no one likes change, where would we get the $302,000? And I've got some ideas, but I don't think anybody wants to hear those ideas. So I support this.
Okay. Anyone else? Tom?
Yeah, Brittany, I just wonder if there's been any thought on keeping our own second shift supervisor, so to speak, just so we had a Germantown employee that was essentially in charge, and then have the company provide the custodial staff underneath them?
We could do that, or there would be a supervisor position through the company. I believe they have two. They have one for the district, and then one for one more that's the leader at each school. So that position could be taken over by the outsourced company. Otherwise, it would be Don Erickson and myself as we oversee that department to make sure that everything is up to the standards of our district.
All right, thank you.
And Brittany, you'll make sure that on the T's and C's, the terms and conditions, that you're going to do all you can to protect the district with, I believe at the committee meeting, Tracy mentioned service level agreements that will have things that we can measure, and if they fail, that hopefully there's going to be some penalties assigned. So.
Okay, no further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Okay, board item 8D. The Finance Committee brings forward a motion to move to the full board with a positive recommendation to award the Pablaki Paving a contract not to exceed $70,473 out of Buildings and Grounds Fund 10 budget to perform the asphalt maintenance at Germantown High School.
Okay, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Do you have any discussion? My understanding is that is the entire parking lot, and including the new areas that are being resurfaced as well?
Yes, all lots.
Okay. And we're extending the lot a little bit too, are we?
The lot's staying the same size, we're just adding additional student parking. We did open up student parking to the sophomores this year, and we will continue to do that as we haven't in the past. It was just for seniors and juniors, so adding more spots will allow more students to park.
Okay, sounds good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Okay, and last item, Brittany went through her April variance report. We're in a little bit better position on spending this year than last year, and a little extra money coming in. She also mentioned, I think it was end of June, a $10 million temporary loan.
I'll be coming to the Finance Committee on the board on June 7th.
Okay, so early in June, to make ends meet until the state aid comes in August. And that was it.
Okay, thank you. Item 9, unfinished business, transportation discussion only. I had this put on the agenda because, again, for transparency, I don't think we did a pretty good job of explaining why we made the decision that we did to change the busing schedules and busing routes and combining schools and all the things that we did. So I'll open it up to the board if they want to describe why they made the decision that they did, and then I'll go through some of the things that Brittany and I talked about, why we came up with the decision that we did. Mike?
I'll start it off. I'm on the Transportation Committee meeting, and or Transportation Committee. The savings in the bus routes, I believe it was 7 routes we eliminated. The savings there is about the same or a little bit less than the savings we just offered Brittany to go ahead and negotiate for eliminating our second shift custodial services. So we had a lot of buses that were running empty, and we needed to cut some routes. It was going to happen. It just had to happen. We couldn't afford to run as many buses as we were running. So 7 routes eliminated. And as far as safety is concerned, I understand it. Trust me, the cameras on those buses are not fake. They're all real. Every minute of every bus ride is recorded. So the students, if they don't know that, they should know that, and they need to behave themselves. If they don't, we will get the video from the bus service, and we will take appropriate action. And it won't take a legal threat from a parent to get us to act on that. That's really about all I have. Hope I covered it reasonably well. I think one other thing is MacArthur comes up often, and I only responded to one email on that because the complaint was that the school was starting later. The school is starting 16 minutes later, and I did not get a response to my email asking why the 16 minutes later start time was such a big issue. So I hope I wasn't disrespectful, in that email, but I did not think that a 16-minute later start time was that bad. So that's all I have, Brian.
Okay, and a couple things I wanted to talk about. The start times was one of them, and originally I opposed the motion because I think we're going the wrong direction. As people presented to us, the stats show that older kids, our elementary or our middle school and high schoolers, are benefit more if they start school later. Unfortunately, our extracurriculars don't allow for that to happen. We had a real tough time with, and I know the Transportation Committee chair is not here, so I thank Mike for filling in for him. We had a tough time trying to figure out how these routes were all going to work out, but in discussions, some of the things that we considered is with the combined K-12 routes and 6 through 12 happens in 16 school districts in our area. And no student will be picked up prior to 6 a.m., which is also our current practice. With the new system, no student will be dropped off after 4:45 p.m., which is also our current practice. MacArthur students will receive breakfast at the same time as they have done in the past. The start times will not change. With the 60-minute time change at MacArthur, students' bus length should not change, but they could arrive home 16 minutes later than the current practice. No student will be on the bus longer than their current student is today. So the times really don't change other than that shift to 16 minutes later. And the other school's a little bit earlier, but 16 minutes is the longest change in time overall. And the cost savings, again, were pretty significant. Brittany, did you have anything to add on that?
No, I don't have anything to add. I tried to respond to all the emails that parents, and I had communications via the phone with some other suggestions that the Transportation Committee could look at in the future if we want to, regarding our hazardous transportation plan, as well as group stops instead of individual stops. So if the Transportation Chair would like to look into those, I'll bring them back to the committee.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. We have to make tough decisions, and unfortunately for us, right now, just about every decision we make upsets half the people, you know, so we can't go one way or the other without upsetting half the population in the district, so it makes our lives really difficult. We try to make the best choices we can to be fiscally conservative and do what's right for the taxpayers in the community and also for our students and parents, and not make your lives miserable. That is not our goal at all. So I just wanted to talk about that. Mike?
Yeah, just one more question, and I think this is for you, Brittany. The savings that we see eliminating the 7 bus routes does not include the savings that we will see in fuel charges.
The savings that we see on the bus routes, you're right, it doesn't include the fuel charges. Is that right?
So since January 20th, diesel and gasoline, I believe, is up $1 a gallon. You know, that's where we're at right now. We're at $1 a gallon more than we were. So the not running those 7 bus routes will also save us money, because the district pays for fuel at cost. And that's something that the bus company doesn't really deal with, other than they store it for us, you know, in their tank while, you know, after the fuel purchase. So there's fuel buys that you will see on monthly vouchers now and then. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not, because I think they buy 10,000 gallons at a time. So anyway, something that we hadn't talked about, there is a fuel savings that I've been thinking about, and I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on that. We don't know exactly what that number is, because you know, we don't know where fuel is going to, but if the last few months are an indication, it'll probably be up 2 gallons or $2 a gallon in the next few months. And so what we've done here, eliminating these 7 routes, has much more benefit than what it seems on the surface.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had on that, unless anybody else wants to add anything. Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business. Discussion, updates, possible action regarding return to school report, including mask wearing for the remainder of 2020-21 school year. Mr. Stousland.
Sure. Just jumping to the graphic that we look at every other week, some of the burden rate in our area communities, these two, the Germantown, Jackson, are in the moderately high, but it's the lowest they've been in a long time. Colgate is up probably double what it was the last time, but these other ones have decreased in burden rate. Washington Ozaki Health came out with some statements last week, on May 20th. I don't think they really help us very much. They're just this kind of same information. They're still recommending correct use of masks, physical distancing, things that have been in place for a long time. Our cases in our elementary and middle school and high school have reduced in the last 2-3 weeks. We thought we might see a spike after the 2 proms, which we didn't, the junior and the senior dance. And we haven't seen that. The decisions for tonight, really is what's the outcome of the use of masks for the remainder of the school year, which is June 10th. Some things to think about, is it different for masks for vaccinated staff and 16+ students who've had the opportunity to be vaccinated? Some after May 25th, if they got it right away when it was available to 12-year-olds. Also, just things to consider. Districts around here have done different things. They've done, some of them who have gone mask optional. Other ones have gone masks in motion, which just means if you're sitting at your desk, you don't need your mask on. If you're moving from class to class, your mask is on. There are an increasing number of school districts that are lifting their mask requirements. Almost every day we see it in the school news bulletins that get sent out. Some questions for the board to consider if they are making a motion is when it would begin, if they're making mask optional or mask in motion or whatever that may be, when it would begin, what grades, and what about large group gatherings? At the end of the school year, we have like 5th grade celebrations where we bring all the 5th graders together. We've got 8th grade end of the year promotion dances, and obviously high school graduation, which puts a lot of people in the field house. So all those things is just to consider. Question?
Tom.
I've heard from several parents throughout the district from our last meeting, since the last meeting via email, multiple parents tonight. This is what they're waiting for. I make a motion to make masks optional throughout the school district, effective immediately.
Do I have a second?
I will second that. Go ahead.
Second.
We got 2 seconds, awesome.
I don't know if we need a friendly amendment or not on that, because there was also discussion earlier that we might want to eliminate the close contact quarantine. This is an issue I think that parents can handle themselves at home. So if there was a close contact,
you can't. That's not in the. It's not in the agenda. That's the problem. Masks was the only thing listed in the agenda.
Correct.
Right now, the quarantine it's optional for the parent.
It's already optional?
How it's written right now is that if they were within 3 feet in masks, then it's optional for the parents.
Okay.
It's just not listed. Unfortunately, it's just not listed in the agenda to vote on. Just masks was listed.
Right. Okay. So I'll drop that, and I think we just go with what Tom said.
So Bob has the second. Tom has the motion.
Hey, no, I've got the second.
Okay.
Mike's got the second.
All right, we'll give Mike the second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'll just say some things. We've been on this journey way too long. We saw it coming over from Asia Pacific, and we took guidance from the CDC, and we did that to mitigate risk to the district. That was, oh my gosh, a year and a half ago, it seems like, way too long. We've learned a lot since then. The vaccine is out there. I've got the vaccine. My company is going to be pivoting relatively soon on social distancing and mask wear. You're seeing more and more businesses do that in our region, in our community, in our state, in our country. The metrics are very good. I'm very concerned about the impact that masks have on mental health for our kids. So I support this. And I'm also concerned about those that will not like this decision tonight. Well, you can mask up. And I would hope that, and this is maybe the messaging that we need to have in our schools, that if you see someone with a mask, that's okay. Don't judge them. Be considerate, maintain social distancing, I think we'll get there.
Tracy.
I just have 2 points to make. I think it's probably pretty clear that this is a good trajectory. Actually, one point here. Two. First off, we had made the arrangements at semester for people to come back from virtual, and they did so because they saw that things were working with masks, or at least it seemed to be because of the masks and the other mitigation that we have in place. We're making this decision at 9:15 at night immediately. I have a feeling that there will be some parents within that group that have changed their minds and will be fine sending their kids with masks. But I have a feeling that there's going to be some that may not want to go down that path and may want to flip back to virtual. So a suggestion would be maybe not immediate, but give a day for parents to react to this so that the administration can field those phone calls or those concerns and try to do their best to accommodate those students. The other point that I would make too is kind of a reinforcement of what Bob said. If parents or kids choose to wear the mask, I really don't want to hear about people giving those kids crap. And if we do hear that with some of the comments earlier with bullying and those type of things, to me that clearly falls under that policy. And so therefore we need to hear about it, we need to escalate it, we need to react quickly to it. If we're gonna put policy out there and encourage folks to read the policy, we need to enforce the policy. So those would be my 2 points that I'd make tonight.
Tom?
Yeah, I understand your point where you're coming from about giving notice, but we've already made it optional for summer school. We've already made it optional for next year. Those parents can certainly keep their kid home. Almost every grade has a virtual option. I mean, my kid was sick today. Thankfully, his test was negative, but he was able to sign in and do all of his classes. So, and I've been sitting here all meeting with this on because I'm trying to follow the rules. I'm ready to take it off.
Okay, I'm going to go on the record. I already went on the record and said that I'm not in favor of making a change at this point. We only have 2 weeks of school left. The CDC did not say that K-12 was okay to remove masks. And we told parents, as Tracy said, that we would keep them in place for the rest of the year. I like the idea of a compromise. I think the suggestion that Brett made where you have masks in motion, we have cohort groups throughout the district for the entire year, and those kids in the classroom, they can remove their mask, but when they're in the hallway and they're cross traffic or they're in large groups, I think they should still wear a mask. The other problem we have is that kids cannot get vaccinated even if they wanted to. So we have an issue with that as well. I agree that we're close to herd immunity at this point, if not already. People have either had it or had the vaccine, and I think the vaccine's been out long enough that anyone that wants it could have had it. So I guess I'm on the fence. I'd like a compromise, but I think I'm in the minority here, and people are going to have their masks off. Mike.
That said, I just wanted to mention I was in the district office last Monday, and I didn't see anyone wearing masks. No one. And this board did not authorize anyone in the district to not wear a mask, so it's already going on. And it's kind of why I asked in part for this to be on the agenda for tonight. You know, let's quit the charade. No one in the district office, except for one person I hear, is wearing a mask. Let's make it effective immediately and just move forward.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Now, hey, Brian, was it unanimous? Was it unanimous?
Correct.
Okay, good.
All right, moving on to new business B, discussion and action to approve donations. Mr. Stousland.
Yes, I'd ask the board to approve a donation of $250 from the dental professionals to the high school choir program, and approve the donation of $250 from Amy Bell student Arabella Fox, who did a card designed to Amy Bell, and Arabella won the contest. And approve the anonymous donation of $750 to County Line to be used to help students with outstanding fees from struggling during the COVID pandemic.
I can't believe all these people are leaving. I mean, we still got good stuff to talk about. People are giving us money.
Right.
All right, I will make a motion to thank the donors for their generosity and approve the donations as listed.
I'll second.
Bob, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes.
As the chair of the choir fundraiser that is going on right now, that she just approved, or, well, she invites you all Thursday night to come and support the choir who has not had shots early year. They will be here, and we are going to be encouraging with that donation because we'll be up to that amount.
Thank you for the invite. Moving on to D, discussion and action to approve sixth grade coordinated arts course.
Brian, can I get clarification just on masks on buses?
Optional.
Optional, thank you very much.
Optional throughout the district.
Thank you very much.
I think we skipped
Oh,
10C.
sorry. C, discussion and action to approve summer school contracts.
That's Mrs. O'Brien.
Sure. These are the summer school contracts for this summer 2021. I just want to inform the board that there are a few more high school contracts than in the past. So we are going to be offering the following credit recovery courses face-to-face this summer: World and American History, English 9 and English 10, Biology, Physical Science, Geometry, and Algebra. So just to let the board know that those are the face-to-face credit recovery courses going to be offered this summer.
Motion to approve the contracts as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Okay, now moving on to discussion and action regarding the sixth grade coordinated arts course.
Again, that's Mrs. O'Brien.
Sure. At the previous board meeting, Mrs. Clymer and I presented a preliminary background on making changes to the coordinated arts offerings for the sixth grade beginning with the 2021-22 school year. The proposal is to sunset the Tech Apps class and in its place put an Intro to Spanish course as well as an Intro to Foods course. The course outlines are in your board packet for your review. And just want to reiterate that most of the equipment is already in the schools, and that one of the foods courses just includes a budget for consumables for the food that would be needed.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the courses as presented, beginning with the 2021-22 school year.
Second.
Have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Item 11, closed session. The Board of Education will entertain a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to S 19.851E, F, and G, Wisconsin statutes as appropriate to discuss GEA negotiations, Plunkett ratio PRA issues, legal services, and personnel issues. The board may take action in closed session if necessary or appropriate to entertain a motion to convene into open session to take further action, if necessary and appropriate, and to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Roll call, Mr. Barney.
Well, I'll make a motion we go into closed session for the reasons stated.
Have a second. Second, roll call.
Loth?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Pollock?
Yes.
Soderberg?
Yep.
Medved?
Yes. We are in closed session. Thank you all for coming. Drive home safely.